Welcome. So today we're going to be talking about how to operationalize a strategic vision, a strategic plan, and turning those broad ideas and concepts, very nebulous ideas, into actionable goals, and then how do you complete those goals? So strategic planning to annual planning to project planning. First, this is a core champion achievement program, like Brian mentioned. What's the core? It's a set of curriculum developed by the National Association of Court Management. There are 13 competencies and topics divided into 3 modules. There's vision, principle, practice, kind of combining the ideas of more strategy into operations. The purpose of the achievement program, and I have some notes on here, is to strengthen court professionals' knowledge of court management principles and best practices, provide greater exposure to the core curriculum, and provide recognition for attendance and various certificates that participants can use to demonstrate the completion of the core program. As you can see, there's several certificates for the core competencies. This course does meet the requirements for one competency. In order to obtain full credit, you need to complete the structured response, which is included in the app under my presentation. After completion, you'll receive an email that was approved. This is my last set of notes. So how do you participate? You can attend the qualified session, so this one, and then again, complete the SRT. After you complete all the 13 competencies to obtain the Core Champion Achievement Award, you must write a short article about the benefits you've gained from completing the core and how you intend to use what you've learned in the future. Core work group members will review your article and determine your eligibility for the Core Champion Achievement Award. You will also have an opportunity to have your article published in NACM's Court Express. Recipients of this award will be formally recognized at the annual conference. And with that, disclaimer, you do not need a strategic plan to do annual planning. I don't know how to make that any more clear. It's great if you have a strategic plan, but it is by no means a barrier for entry. Annual planning is the least that you can do. Join today, it's free. Any court administrators here, people who do budget, right? This is not a barrier for entry. It's free. So learning objectives for today. We're going to understand why strategic annual planning is important, explore the project management tools and practices, and learn practical ways for how to measure strategic performance. So 30,000 view on overview of strategic planning. So strategic planning seeks to answer the following questions. 1, your current performance. Where are you now? Where do you want to go, or your preferred future? And how are you going to get there? So what are the priority actions you're going to take to actually meet your preferred future? And it produces a few things. 1 is obviously a 3-5-year long-range strategic plan laying out your vision for the future, goals that you want to achieve, an annual plan that operationalizes this strategic plan. Try saying that 5 times fast. And then a performance measurement system to evaluate progress. What are the benefits of doing strategic and annual planning? 1, it provides a targeted approach to address issues. There's a million different things that we could be doing in courts to improve our operations, but where do you start? This gives you the groundwork and the framework for starting somewhere. That can lead to effective management and better resource allocation, think money, staff, time. Can lead to quality service to our customers, who are our customers, judges, public, litigants, the bar, court staff, all leading to public trust and confidence in the courts, which is a big reason of how we can do what we do. Public believes that we work effectively, which all leads to support for funding. If I can show that I have the public trust and confidence in what we do, I'm providing benefit for customers, more likely than not, the legislature and the AOC is going to come down and say, yes, you do deserve your funding. So what's a strategic plan? It's a guide for your court as it seeks to accomplish long-term goals. The one key thing about a strategic plan is it doesn't tell you how to achieve your objectives. It just says, here's what we want to do. We want to provide better service for pro se litigants. Okay, what does that look like? How do I do that? Please give me the answer. It doesn't tell you that. It just says, I'm going to do this. The NCSC, I believe it's the NCSC, put out a great 9-step timeline for how to do strategic planning, right? You need to start the process. You have to have a vision. You have to have a mission. You have to do trends analysis. You got to identify your strategies and implement them and monitor them. It's a lot. For purposes of this presentation, I'm not going to be looking at that full process. I'm only going to be looking at the last 5-ish steps. And to break it down even further, because there's still a lot of words on here. Step 1, you want to collect information. Step 2, set your annual goals. Step 3, identify and select the strategies to meet the goals. Step 4, implement those strategies, project planning. And 5, monitor performance. And then at the beginning of the next year, end of next year, you start the whole process over again. You collect more information, you set your goals, you set your strategies, right? This is the annual planning process. And it's based around the framework of continuous improvement. And continuous improvement is the concept of assessing a situation, analyzing where your problems are, where you can find room for improvement, implementing whatever analysis you've come up with. I have 5 solutions for this one problem. I'm going to implement them. And then evaluating whether your changes actually helped or hurt the problem, didn't affect it, going back to the drawing board and assessing again. That's the whole idea behind annual planning, strategic planning, and it is core to why you're doing this. It's otherwise known as plan, do, check, and act. Who's familiar with PDCA? Aha. Okay. Well, now everyone is. You plan what you want to do, you do it, you check it, and then you act. So now that we understand what it is, benefits of it, general framework of it, let's review a real-life example from my court. I am from the U.S. Court of Appeals to the Federal Circuit. I started in the clerk's office. We're a federal appellate court located in D.C. We are a national court with very specific subject matter jurisdiction. So think intellectual property, patents, trademarks, administrative law, veterans claims, and monetary claims against the United States government. We have a clerk's office staff of under 18. I think Jarrett in a early presentation, my boss, said about 15. So we're a small staff in the clerk's office. And the court as a whole hears about 1,500 cases a year, which for those in the state realm, which is probably all of you, that is not a lot. But they're very specialized cases, and they can be a big impact on the country. So a little bit of a background where our office was in 2017. It wasn't great, in short. So a small minority of staff were responsible for managing about 60% of all of our cases. Case manager training took a minimum 12 to 16 months. Case management data contained a, frankly, unacceptable frequency of errors. One case manager was, 1 out of every 2 things they were docketing was incorrect, which you tell me, that's probably not great. Case documents were not processed within clear processing standard requirements. Staff were unsatisfied with their work and management. And standard office procedures were either non-existent or very much out of date. So Jarrett, my current clerk, comes in the clerk's office, finds all these things, comes up with some annual plans, but mostly it's just putting out fires for year after year after year for 3 years. We're surviving, but not great. So in FY 2020, we decided instead of just doing annual planning, let's do strategic planning. So put out a framework. It wasn't based on, the NCSC, the international framework, anything like that. It was just, what are the really big issues we're having and what do we want to do? Okay, so we want to increase employee engagement, improve service to our customers, standardize office procedures, and utilize data in decision-making. Results, 2-year period from that strategic plan. We had 28 strategic initiatives, and the results of which we had reduced the average internal case processing time by almost 50%, reduced the average time to assign cases to panel by 58%, averaged 90% of all case filings processed within established internal processing guidelines and standards, increased the average case processing accuracy by 13%. It's now at like 99%. And sustained overall employee engagement of at least 90%. So good results from our first strategic plan. We still have some fires that we're dealing with, but they're few and far between, and we have a better strategy and way of addressing those fires as they come up. And we were also dealing with the pandemic. So we saw those numbers while most of our staff was not in the office. We're dealing with other things of crisis management. So if we can do this, you can too. And we're not in a pandemic right now. So going back to the NCSC framework, the steps. We figured it was time, 2022, 2023, to relook at the process and kind of mature as an organization and take it to the next level. So we went back to the drawing board and in FY23 came up with a new strategic plan. This one was aligned around the 7 areas of core excellence, which we'll get into. We identified 40 strategic objectives this time over a 5-year time frame. So what are the areas of core excellence? Who here knows what I'm talking about? Okay, 1 person, maybe 2 people. Okay. So this is put out by the International Consortium for Core Excellence in what's called the International Framework for Core Excellence. Don't ask me how I memorized that. And they're based around, if a court is good in these 7 key areas of court functions, pretty good chance that they are a healthy court, they're a good place to work, they have good results, things like that. So the 7 areas are court leadership, strategic court management, court workforce, court infrastructure proceedings and processes, stakeholder engagement, affordable and accessible court services, and public trust and confidence, right? If you have good leadership that is engaging the workforce, the employees, that you have good procedures, transparent fees, all of your opinions and orders are docketed timely on a system, you are engaging with the bar, you're engaging with the public, you're making resources available, right? You're doing all these things, chances are you're a pretty good court. So we aligned our second strategic plan around the 7 areas. And then we came up with a new annual plan aligned around those 7 areas in our strategic plan. So with our FY23 annual plan, we had 22 team goals, 4 teams in the clerk's office, 28 working group goals. So we have working groups for like improving professional development, improving customer experience, an employee engagement committee, things like that. So each of them have goals. And then 5 office-wide projects. And you can see from the annual plan, first one is court leadership. So the first thing that we want to do is have a management working group training plan. For strategic court management, we want to have case management resource development and a CME-CF process review. That's our case management system. So with each of those, just what's the summary of the project and what do you want to do with it, right? Again, it's still not quite getting to the here's exactly how to do it, but it at least tells you we're going to do it and we're going to do it this year. So overview of what we just talked about. So in order to operationalize a strategic plan, 1, you probably need a strategic plan. Again, it's not necessary. You don't have to start from that, but it just makes it easier. Create an annual plan from your strategic plan. Create projects off of the annual plan. Monitor your performance in one way or another. And then put out an annual report to tell your stakeholders, your customers and staff, hey, look at all the good work we did. Here's a bunch of photos. Here's some data, right? Show your efficacy to your stakeholders and prove that you're doing a good job. So with that example out of the way, overview out of the way, how can you apply these practices in your court? First step, again, collect information. Why do we want to collect information is a good question. So one, you want to understand your current level of performance. Are you doing well? Are you not doing well? Why? What do your staff need? What do your staff want? Have they been talking about a project for 20 years that management has ignored? What are your organization's needs? What are your customers' needs? Filers, they need more resources. Lawyers need more resources. Judges are being neglected. Whatever it is, what are their needs? And then you want to evaluate any changing conditions, internal, external to your organization. And then what are your priorities? How are you going to meet all of those needs, all of those expectations? How are you going to address changing priorities, changing situations, and become a better court next year, 5 years? So there's a few ways that we can collect information. First one is through trends analysis. We can do organizational assessments. And we can get staff input and feedback. So for trends analysis, this is where we just want to identify trends, patterns, and changes in data, whatever data it is. Again, internal or external. Things you want to review, progress if you have one on a current strategic plan, current annual plan. If not, what have you done in the past year? Are you making progress towards it? Do you know what you've done in the past year? Is there a list anywhere, right? Just review progress on that. If you have any local performance and trends, what's your data showing? Are you getting more cases this year? Are your docketing clerks processing things more accurately, less accurately, more timely, less timely? Anyone went to Mr. Perlow's presentation this morning? So track your KPIs, right? Look at general trends in government, private sector, court administration, right? There's reports from the National Center for State Courts, National Association of Court Management, International Consortium for Court Excellence, Federal Court Clerks Association, American Society for Quality, Conference of, right? There's a million organizations. They all put out reports quarterly, definitely yearly. What are they saying? And another great resource is State of the State Courts, which is put out by the NCSC. Just read these, skim them. What are they saying? What are the priorities that they're pointing out that, should we consider that in our court? Next, you can do an organizational self-assessment. So this is where court leaders will analyze and evaluate the court's direction and capacity to meet its goals. It's a great opportunity to identify your shared concerns and to prioritize actions. A self-assessment that we use in the Federal Circuit is put out by the ICCE. It's 84 questions, all based around these 7 areas of court excellence, asking anywhere from, do your court's building hours lend itself to be accessible? Are your fees posted and publicly available? Does your management coalesce around a shared mission, a shared vision, right? Rank it 0 to 5, average all the scores, and that kind of gives you, low scores. Maybe we should tackle that in the next 5 years, next year if it's low enough. If we've got, a 0 in our orders are posted on our website, okay, we probably should do that. Using some staff input and feedback, you can use a staff survey. So the NCSC has court tools. I'm sure everyone here is familiar with court tools. But they have a 30-question survey which asks staff to rate the quality of the work environment and relations between staff and management. So do I have the resources necessary to do my job? Are there professional development opportunities? Does someone take a personal interest in me at work? Right? And then management can take the responses to those questions anonymously and find out if there's any room for improvement, if there's concerns, shared concerns that staff have, and then use that to identify potential new projects. Another great way is through team meetings, staff meetings, town halls. The format that we use in staff meetings, not everyone, but every quarter, is the start, stop, continue model. So this can be directed at whoever. You want to direct it at your case administrator, you want to direct it at your clerk, management, the court as a whole. But what do we want to start doing as a court? What do we want to stop doing as a court? And what do we want to continue doing as a court, right? Anything that's stopped doing, okay, let's stop it right now. Staff don't want to do it. Start, hey, that's another project we could look on. And continue, we do this, but maybe we could do it a little bit better, right? Can we get more engagement on this? Can we get more satisfaction? Can we be more timely with it, right? Another great way is a SOAR analysis. SOAR stands for strengths, opportunities, aspirations, and results. So in strengths, it's what do you do well at as a court? What do you do well at as an organization? What are your key assets? What are your strengths? There's some questions you can ask staff. I'm not going to go through them. But things like what do you excel at and what makes you unique, right? Put all the things that staff think are your strengths. Opportunities, circumstances that you can leverage for success against some more questions. What threats do you see that you could reframe as opportunities? Aspirations, which is an expression of what you want to be as a core and achieve in the future. Some more questions. And then results, which are tangible outcomes and measures that demonstrate you've achieved your aspirations and your goals, right? It's more questions, and these are available on the slide, so don't worry about memorizing them. Okay, we've collected all this information. Oh boy. Okay, so what do you do with it? With it, you want to set annual goals. So review the collected information. Are there any common themes that keep popping up? Do you have, done a review of your KPIs and other metrics? And, there's ones that are lagging. They have been lagging for a couple of years. Let's maybe address that. And then, again, you can review progress on current projects. So some questions to consider when setting goals. Where are you making sufficient progress? Where do you still need to improve? Where do you need to change your approach? Where are new areas of concern? And where have circumstances changed? So asking that with staff, among management to staff, So let's take an example, and this is an example from my court as well. So management received a feedback from chambers, from judges, and some JAs that they're having issues with the opinion issuance software. It's called SlipOp. IT at the same time is communicating that we're doing a system-wide shift to the cloud. This system is not on the cloud, so oh boy. And the clerk's office is making too many errors when processing opinions and judgments. So it's kind of a multifaceted issue. There's a few things going on. Okay, but what do we do with that? So you want to do solution ideation. This is called a mind map. Basically, all you're going to do is list all the problems with the process and identify potential root causes. What's a root cause? A root cause is the key thing that's causing something to go wrong, whatever it is. So I don't have any examples for you. But the reason you do root cause analysis is if I've identified a problem and I just randomly pick a solution out of a hat and I try and address it, well, 6 months down the road, has my data changed? Has it gotten worse? Has it gotten better? If it's changed or gotten worse, I've addressed the wrong problem or addressed the wrong solution. So you want to get to the true issue of a problem. So identify at least one solution for each cause. And in mind maps, there's no bad ideas yet. Once you have a good list, eliminate the misfits. So which ones are going to have an adverse impact on the court? Which ones conflict with your mission, policy, law, statute, local rule? And which solutions maybe exceed scope of what you're looking for. They're way too big. They require multiple courts to work on it, a lot of units, a lot of time, a lot of money, right? And then pick the best ones that you can meet within a year, within 5 years. So you want to identify the goal. So in our strategic plan, we have a strategic objective of to identify and implement new opportunities for system integration and local automation developments across clerk's office systems and processes, right? We just want to do more with automation, want to integrate things, so we're not having 20 applications. So the annual goal for this is to improve our opinion issuance process based on the concerns that we've received, right? Again, this still doesn't tell me what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, but it's a goal that we want to improve this process. Okay, well, now what? Still doesn't get me far. Step 3, you want to identify and select your strategies or projects. So what are you going to do in the next year to address that annual goal? So the main thing that you can do is develop an annual plan. And an annual plan establishes the projects that are going to be worked on in support of the strategic plan and evolving operational needs. The annual plan indicates how an activity will contribute to the strategic plan and your long-term goals. Again, it still doesn't tell you how to do it, it just tells you what to do and how it relates to your goals. So what types of projects could you put on an annual plan? You do a process improvement project. Any Lean Six Sigma folks here? Fans? Woo. Process design, a service development, an IT infrastructure improvement, a physical infrastructure improvement, IT product or software development, getting a new contract or new procurement, or doing like a business improvement or a foundational improvement. So we're going to start doing strategic planning, right? So how would we achieve the goal of opinion issuance process improvement? Okay, well, one thing that we could do is develop a new technical solution for issuing opinions and generating opinion templates that integrate with existing systems, right? Based on the concerns, we had chambers not happy with the system, we're going to the cloud, and we're producing a lot of errors. Okay, well, let's change the system and let's improve the process. So this is what goes on the annual plan. And as an example, this is our annual plan from FY23. So under core infrastructure proceedings and processes, I have opinion issuance process improvement and exactly what the project is going to do. So we're going to improve the process and we're going to get a new software, right? This gives direction. This tells staff and management what are we going to spend our resources doing. Anything that's not on the annual plan, unless it's an emergency, a fire, it's dictated by the chief judge, we're not doing it. It's not a priority. It wasn't dictated by management. We're going to do this. And then only if something comes up as an emergency, we're going to do another thing, right? So now you have it on the annual plan. How do you implement it? Okay. Project management is the short answer. So what's project management? Project management is just using skills, tools, knowledge, techniques to to complete a series of tasks and deliver value and achieve a desired outcome X, doesn't matter. It's the process of breaking down a multifaceted, multi-step activity into smaller and more manageable parts. Again, if I said, I want to improve the way that we issue opinions in the court, where do I start with that? I have no idea conceptually where to start. Okay, well, let's get a project. Let's break this down to steps. Let's do some research on alternatives. Is there a commercial option available? Can we do something in-house? What's actually wrong with the process? Are we doing it incorrectly? Right? Start answering those questions and breaking things down into actionable, smaller tasks. So great statistic from an organization called the Project Management Institute. Organizations that do not use project management have a more than 60% failure rate in new projects and initiatives. Does this ring true for anyone here? Does that sound about right? Okay, I'm seeing some shaking. So clearly there's some benefit to project management. And this isn't even like advanced project management. It's like having a regular check-in meeting every month, right? To make sure that people are doing something, or having a project plan. And there's a great quote from Joy Gums. Yes. Operations keep the lights on. Strategy provides a light at the end of the tunnel. But project management is a train engine that moves the organization forward. So project management is really important. So the way that we break down project management at our court is in 4 distinct phases. Initiation, planning, execution, and closure. Does this sound like anything to you? Does this sound like plan, do, check, act, maybe? Yeah. It's all related, folks. So initiation phase. So this is where you're going to have initial meetings with a project team, actually get together a project team. Who's the process owner? Who's doing the process? Things like that. What's the scope? What do you actually want to achieve? What are your costs? What are the benefits? How are you going to know that you've actually done the job you've said you're going to do? So again, define and identify the project on a broad level and who's actually going to be working on the project. Some tools that we can use for this. The main one is the project charter. So what's a project charter? So project charter is just a contract between a sponsor, a manager, and a team. The people on this group are going to do this, and we're going to do it within this time frame and deliver X, Y, and Z, right? That's it. Just an agreement for accountability purposes and for structure. It sets the limits and the scope of the project. It defines what's in it and what's importantly not in the project. Defines the purpose and the justification for the project, and defines the deliverables or the final outputs that you're going to want to achieve. So here's just a basic project template that I put together in Word. It took, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes. And it's kind of just the basic things that you want in a project charter. Again, what's the problem you're dealing with? Who's the beneficiaries of the end product? How much is it going to cost? What's your schedule? Who's on it? Right, basic stuff. Shouldn't take you more than an hour to complete it if you have a general idea of what the project is. So we'll go through each of these different aspects and how to fill one out. So how do you define a project scope? So a scope is basically the purpose of the project, right? I'm going to improve the opinion issuance process in 1 year, and I'm only looking at the opinion issuance process. I'm not looking at motions, right? Who are the customers and what do they need and want, right? Who's the customer? A customer is anyone who just receives our service. So in our example, a customer is the judge who's issuing the opinion, and maybe the clerk's office staff who are the ones actually doing the administrative side on helping issue the opinion. Scope, are there any limitations? Do you have budget constraints, time constraints, technological constraints? No one knows how to use cloud services. No one knows what the cloud is. Okay, let's do some research on what that is, right? And then one of the most important aspects of a scope is to help identify what the project is not addressing. Prevent scope creep. All too often we'll have a project and it's going to say, oh yeah, we have this really good idea. It's really tailored and narrow in improving the opinion issuance process. And a year down the road, you've now added 5 extra deliverables to it, and now we're looking at the entire case management process, right? No, we're not doing that. This project is only looking at opinions, and anything outside of that is a different group's issue. It's not my problem. Not my place, not my problem. So here's just an example project charter of the example we've been working with. So the problem statement, the opinion issuance process is not meeting acceptable standards, and the software has not been reviewed or substantially updated in 10 years, right? That's a problem. So who's the beneficiaries? Judges, people issuing opinions in court services, probably the litigants, filers, the public. We didn't expect it to cost any money because we were going to develop it in-house. Some benefits, we're going to streamline the whole process. We're going to have less errors. Opinions will be issued more consistently on time. We're going to have less complaints from chambers, and we're going to meet our strategic goal of having more system-wide integration. And then how are we going to know in a year, 2 years, we've done the project, it's been a success, okay? So if 98% of our opinions, judgments, and judge-directed orders are issued without staff error, great. If 100% of opinions are issued timely, great. If we have no complaints in a year, great. What is going to tell me as a project manager and a sponsor that this was a successful project 6 months down the line, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? And then what's in my scope? So I'm only looking at the opinion issuance software, the template creation software, the clerk's office processes, and then some reports. I am not looking at Chambers processes. I'm not touching anything that Chambers does. I'm not looking at the opinion writing process. I don't write opinions. That's not my job. And I'm not looking at what the actual opinion and order templates look like, right? Very important distinctions in limiting the scope of this project. Okay, we have a project charter. Your circuit unit executive signs off on it. Your supervisor signs off on it. Great, we're off to the races. Now we can start doing some planning. So what's your communication plan look like? Are you going to have weekly, bi-weekly, monthly meetings with your project team? What's your overall project schedule? Is this a 1-year project, a 2-year project, 5-year project? What are all the things you're going to turn in at the end of that time frame? So in the planning phase, you want to define your goals and deliverables and then create a roadmap for the project. Some things we can use here: SMART goals, Gantt or milestone chart, and a RACI matrix. So in defining project deliverables, your deliverables want to be a few things. They want to be specific. Don't be too broad in what you're going to turn in. Measurable. I can actually pull data from this and know, yes, it was done. Yes, we're doing well at it, right? Achievable. Don't shoot for the moon. Relevant to the project, so within scope, and then time bound. They can be done in a reasonable amount of time within my schedule. Anyone know where this is going? They want to be smart. So you want your goals to be smart. It's very, very important for creating good deliverables that are actually achievable by your team within a set time frame. A great tool for tracking projects and where you are in the whole process is called a Gantt chart or a milestone chart. Everyone here should have access to Excel. So there's a template readily available in Excel that you can start using today. If you just open Excel and go to templates, it's like the first template available is a Gantt chart. And you just fill in your deliverables, how long you think it's going to take, how long it actually takes, and it pops out where it's going to happen week-wise. So if my project is 30 weeks, it'll break down all of my deliverables, how long it's taking versus if it's delayed and things like that. Really good tool to see if you are overburdening yourself in a specific phase or a specific area, or you're overburdening specific staff with a lot of tasks. Another thing we need to do is what's called a RACI matrix, RACI chart. So RACI stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. So who's responsible for doing the process? Who's responsible for issuing opinions? Who's accountable in making sure that the opinions do get issued timely and accurately? Who needs to be consulted when I need to change the process for issuing opinions? And who needs to be informed when I change the process? So going back to our project charter, I'm the sponsor, so I need to be consulted anytime a decision needs to be made about changing the process. Our project managers just helping things, they should also be consulted as well. Our process owner is our court services manager, so he's making sure that things are getting processed, they are being done timely and accurately. We have a court services administrator who's actually doing the work, so she's responsible. And then Jason's our tech guy, so he's helping us make all the software. He doesn't really have a role in issuing opinions. But right, This tells me right away when I'm doing something, okay, who do I need to talk to? Do I need to talk to the judge about this thing, or can I let this one slide? Because, why would they care about some really technical thing that Jason is doing in the back end? They care about the end product and how it affects them and their chambers, right? And then our project schedule. So this is just cut. There's obviously a lot more to this. But, starting October of 21, we're going to have a kickoff meeting with the whole project team. We're going to get the plan approved in March. So we're going to have 5 months of planning and research and all of that, of defining what we're actually going to be doing. And then we're going to move into the planning and execution stage of, okay, we need to do all the research. We need to find viable solutions. We need to see what we're currently capable of doing, what we can't do, right? Just a basic schedule. This is a Word document. You can do it in Excel, just a table. What am I going to do? What's the actual task? And then when do I think it's going to be done? So I have all that. Now we're actually in the execution phase. This is where the rubber hits the road. So in this phase, you're doing the things, completing the tasks that you've identified in the project plan, and you're monitoring progress of those tasks. The main tool for this is our check-in meetings. And again, we talked about the communications plan. How often are you meeting? So you want to do regular check-in meetings with your project team. Regular. No ad hoc. Oh, we're going to do it on the third Thursday of March, and then the next time we'll meet is in July, maybe, right? You want to have weekly, regular meetings. This is a great opportunity for the team to provide updates on their deliverables that they're responsible for, and discussing and strategizing next steps, where if we run into any challenges, things like that. So the project manager for every meeting should create an agenda and meeting notes. And by agenda, I don't mean Jason said, quote, blah, 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 and then this person said in response, blah, 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 blah. No, I don't care. What are the action items, okay? So who attended the meeting? Did we have any prior agenda items? Do we need any updates on those? What are new action items? And then let's agree on our next steps and next actions. Keep it simple. People are not going to read a 5-page meeting note review of a meeting they just attended yesterday. They want to know, okay, what am I doing it, who's doing it, and when is it due, right? Another great way organizationally that we can do this is just through overall project tracking. So this is what I do, partially, is I just have a SharePoint. Anyone have access to SharePoint? Okay, good number of you. If not, you can do this in Excel. What's the name of the project? Is it on time? Is it delayed? Is it in planning? What phase is it in? It's in execution, it's closure, it's done. Do we have a deadline? Quarter 4 of FY24. Which court unit is responsible for, which section, which working group, and then a link to the charter. And you can update this, you can have the project managers update this. And this is just making sure that everyone is making progress on what they say they're going to be doing. Because I myself can't have a meeting with 40 different project teams in a week. It's not possible. But if I keep a simple list and just get an email update, oh yeah, we did all of this and we're now in phase 2. Okay, great, I update the list and we know we're making progress. Okay, we're skipping a lot of things in a project, right? There's a lot that goes into execution, but okay, for purpose of this presentation, we're done with the project. We've we've done all the things we're going to say we're going to do. We think we're done with meeting deliverables and things like that. So we're going to go to the closure phase. So the closure phase is where we confirm the project has met its goals, and this is also where you celebrate your successes, right? We did it. Things you need to do here: assess what were the project goals and did you actually meet them? Identify your successes, and then are there any areas for improvement for someone else doing another project down the line, or when I lead another project, what can I do better as a manager, as a team member? And then communicate the results. Communicate to the team, to the management, to the whole court, to the circuit, to the judges, right? Communicate, share your success. Things we'll do here is an after-action review and a project evaluation. So what's an after-action review? This is an opportunity for you to identify your strengths, weaknesses, and areas of improvement with regards to the project that you just completed. So find a neutral facilitator, someone who wasn't on the project team, and ask them to just meet with everyone on the project team, all of the stakeholders if they're internal, and all the customers if they're internal, and just walk through some questions. What was expected to happen? What did you think was going to happen based on the project plan, based on expectations? Did the stakeholders have a different idea of, compared to the project team? What actually happened, in all of its ugliness, all of its beauty? What went well and why? And what can be improved and how, right? Again, celebrate your successes, but what can we do better next time to continuously improve and be better as an organization and as individuals? Next, project evaluation. So four simple questions. 1, did the project accomplish the stated goals and objectives? 2, were all deliverables completed timely and accurately? That's determined by management, by your sponsor. Was the project managed effectively by the project manager? Did they communicate updates on the project? Did they have regular meetings? Did they delegate and coordinate everything? And were the customers and stakeholders satisfied with the project outcome? So that's just survey, talk with whoever's affected, talk with the judge, talk with other court staff who are affected by this. Did you not like the old process? Do you like this one better? What don't you like about this one? What can we change, right? Informal or formal surveys and discussions. And lastly, and probably most importantly, is just celebrate the success with the team. It doesn't have to be much. It could just be an email or a 30-minute meeting. Hey, let's just chill and talk. But you want to do something to recognize people for the likely months and potentially years of effort to get something across the finish line. This is not an easy thing to do. We all know projects are not generally fun and not easy things. So it's good to stop, take a break, and just recognize what we've achieved. Last step in annual planning, you want to monitor performance. One way we can do that is through what's called a strategic balance scorecard. A strategic balance scorecard is used for evaluating and tracking the progress of goals and objectives on the current strategic plan. Again, this is if you have a strategic plan. This part is generally necessary. You need a strategic plan. You could probably get away without it, but it's a bit tougher. And it provides management feedback on internal processes and external outcomes to, it's important, continuously improve strategic performance and results. What are our overall trends and goals? Are we meeting what we say we want to meet? Are we slipping in certain areas? What do we need to change that? And a BSC is centered around 4 what are called perspectives. Those perspectives are mission, stakeholder experience, internal processes, and people. Now, if we are to align those 4 perspectives with the 7 areas of core excellence, because why not? Here's how it would break down. So under mission perspective, we want to look at all the things that affect our core infrastructure, proceedings, and processes. Right, this is the core of the core. What are we doing? Are we doing it well? Are we doing it effectively? Are we making progress or not? Stakeholder experience, you want to look at stakeholder engagement, affordable and accessible court services, and public trust and confidence. Does the public believe that you say what you're doing? Bless you. Is your core affordable and accessible? Do you have low fees? Do you have language translation services, things like that? Internal processes, is your leadership engaged and setting direction? And are they setting the strategic direction of the court for better management? And then people, do you have engaged, satisfied court workforce that knows what they're doing? So in the federal circuit, we started our balanced scorecard in FY21 when we launched our first strategic plan. It's created in Excel. It's nothing fancy. Any of you could do this today. We report on it quarterly to the whole office. It's posted on our intranet site on SharePoint, presented at monthly staff meetings, and then the results of each balanced scorecard is reviewed by management, and they put out a report of, these things we didn't meet, and here's why we think, and here's our solution for getting those up to our benchmarks. So here's what it looks like. I know this is hard to see. We have right here our 4 perspectives, again, mission, stakeholder experience, internal processes, and people. Some questions to kind of align you around those perspectives. So for mission, how effective are you at achieving your mission? Does anyone have a mission statement? Does anyone know what the mission statement is? That's another presentation topic. Internal processes, what are we doing inside of our organization to contribute to our operational stability and suitability, right? And so for each of these questions and perspectives, you're going to put your strategic focus area or your 7 areas, and then identify metrics that you could achieve reasonably within 5 years. And then just track quarter to quarter. How many did we meet quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, right? We met 3 mission metrics in quarter 1. We met 3 in quarter 2. Is that a long-term trend? Is that last one really difficult to meet? Why is it? Do we need to change direction and pivot, right? And you just do this for each of your 4 perspectives. This is a great overview for anyone in your office or your court to see strategically how well you're meeting your goals. So here's an example from stakeholder experience. Again, I apologize for this being hard to see. So again, we have our areas right here: stakeholder engagement, affordable services, public trust and confidence, and some measurements. So for affordable and accessible services, we want to have good public readability score for our public documents. There's a word for this, and I'm blanking on the name. We want to have good public communications engagement rate through Granicus, through GovDelivery. For public trust and confidence, we want to make sure that our court decisions are on our website. So 98% of our court decisions are on our website. Ideally, that's 100. 98% of our oral argument recordings are on the website, right? They're really basic things, but if we're not doing those, then something's wrong. And so again, for each quarter, you just take, in quarter 1 for public document readability, we were at a 62.1. Our target is 65. And quarter 2, we went down to 53. Well, why did we go down to 53? Turns out we put out a document on the website that was not readable, it was not in plain language, and it brought down our score. So do we have a system in place to check all the documents that get added to the website to make sure that they meet a minimum level of readability based on whatever standard, right? That just gave me a goal off of 1 data point. And now I can put that on an annual plan and get a project on it, and boom, we're making improvements. Last thing that we can do for annual planning, thank you, and I mentioned this earlier, was annual reporting. So we issue an annual report at the end of every calendar year, generally like the last week of December. Basically just document the events that you did in the prior fiscal year. You want to convey your efficacy to your stakeholders. They're actually doing things. You're providing benefit for your stakeholders and customers. What are we doing that's important to the community and to the court? So court statistics is a basic one that you could put on there. Changes in staffing, government structure. What are your general accomplishments? If you didn't have an annual plan, just like what did you do in the past year? Notable events. You had a few happy hours. You put together a judicial conference. You did an out-of-town sitting, right? Whatever it is, just put it in the annual report with some nice photos and send it to staff. Very low-effort way of showing that you're actually making progress on things and saying what you're doing. You're going to say, doing what you say you're going to do. Whatever, So, what's the schedule that we follow in the federal circuit, and how can you apply that? So, sometime around May, I start collecting information and reviewing existing performance, and members of management and senior staff. In June, we circulate our core staff climate survey, again, that 30-question core tools survey. And we start soliciting project ideas from staff. What do they want to see us do in the next year, right? By the end of June, we'll finalize our SOAR analysis, and we'll finalize our self-assessment questionnaire. We usually just send the self-assessment to all of management, and the SOAR analysis is done by all of court staff. September, we'll circulate a draft annual plan to court staff. What do we think we're going to do in the next year? And then October 1 is your effective date for the annual plan. We'll have a project manager orientation. So anyone who's not done project management before, okay, what are the 4 phases? What do you do in each phase? What do I need from you as a manager, right? And now we're starting the planning and initiation phases. The annual plan is effective, so let's start getting our project charters ready. Let's start putting down our deliverables and when we think we're going to be done with it for a later effective date. Again, end of December, we'll finalize the annual report, and somewhere around that time, you want to have draft project charters for all the projects you're going to do, right? If you have 28 projects you're going to want to have 28 project charters at around that time period. And then January 1, execution phase for probably, a good portion of your projects. I don't think you should say all 30 projects start January 1 because, oh my God. But, if you can say, you have 30 projects to do for fiscal year 25, let's do 10 of them starting January 1. Let's start the other 10 in April 1 and the last 10 in July. And we'll see just how that shakes out based on schedule, responsibilities, resources needed, things like that. So general schedule, this is what we do. You do not have to follow this. But if this gives you, it gives you a good idea of generally when you should be starting things and when how long things will take. So summary, again, collect information, and then when you've collected information, collect some more. Set your annual goals. Identify and select the strategies to meet those annual goals. Implement strategies, and then monitor your performance. And that's it. Thank you. The QR code is actually my clerk. Jarrett has a website called qualityincourts.org.com. No, it's not commercial. He's not scraping your data, I promise. And it's a way to create your own balanced scorecard and key performance indicators to track your performance. It has examples on there that you can just take, and then you just need to find a way how to start measuring them. So I would highly recommend that you go to that QR code. If you have any questions that I can't answer today, you can please email me. Yes, a question right here.
Thank you. My name's Carrie Hicks, and I'm the Director of Operations, Collier County, Florida. So my question to you, and I wrote it down because I didn't want to forget it. Are you doing any evaluations or assessments on the front or back end regarding cost and cost analysis? I know you referred to, hey, there's no cost, but you've got cost of labor, resources, things like that. Do you have any budget lines associated to projects like this, or are you taking it out of your standard operating budget?
So with our project management and all of this annual planning, all of this was done in the clerk's office. I did not have to deal with budgets. We are now trying to implement this court-wide, so I don't have the experience necessary to give you a good answer on that. Probably someone is doing it. I bet my clerk could answer. But yeah, like detailed cost analysis, I don't know who's doing that if we are doing that. We probably should. Question in the back? No?
Technical question.
Uh-huh.
While following all what you said, there's some parts on the PowerPoint that are not there. Are we able to message you so
Yeah.
we can get all of it? Because it's...
Yeah. There's stuff like we have a template that we use for after action
Yeah,
reviews,
just
right?
for-
Like if you're interested in doing that,
Yeah.
just ask me. Some of the things, the reason I didn't include them is because they can be done really informally.
Yeah.
So like an after action review is just put together a meeting and have someone just take notes and then report out on the notes. Ask the questions, what are the answers to this, right? I will, of course, share any templates that anyone asks for. So just reach out to me through that email.
Thank you.
And with a lot of this, I'm not making this up. I'm not creating any of this content. A lot of this I am very publicly stealing. Very few of this is my idea, if any of this. I just came together and said, how can we take all of these concepts and tools and put them into one court system? So I'm by no means a, like revolutionary on like how to do project management. I just found the tools and put them together. So the stuff that I'm talking about here, you can find online. My template is maybe good for a court, but it's by no means the only examples out there. Any other questions?
This isn't a question, Patrick. This is just another resource that will complement the employee satisfaction one that you're already using. The National Center in the last 2 months has released a new toolkit that looks at employee engagement in addition to employee satisfaction. So just throw that out there.
And we don't need to get into the differences, but there are technically differences between satisfaction and engagement. Important differences, I think, but we don't need to get into that here. Thank you. Anything else? I think with that, we're ending a little bit early, I think. So
yeah, thank you very much,
welcome.
Patrick. Appreciate it. Very, very informative. Please be sure to rate.